Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Trude Ufondu of Snowspirations, Global Health Solutions. Today is another wonderful opportunity to talk to our audience and kind of feel the beat of the community. So today is Wednesday, and Wednesday is Hump Day. So what's Hump Day? So if you notice, Mondays are not the best of the day in the week. Personally, I don't like Mondays because Mondays you're trying to catch up. Then Tuesday you're getting settled. Then before you know it, you're in Wednesday. So Wednesday is the middle of the week. Excuse me. You've already spent 2 days. You're gonna spend extra 2 days. Then you're gonna begin to get some rest. That's if you have only 5 working days. If you're in the category of people that work around the clock, like us, you wouldn't necessarily think that Wednesday it's a day of kind of getting some rest. But Wednesday is a very important day in our group because on Wednesday, we host a community clinic, SGHS Midweek Community Clinic. It's a clinic we use in touching base with our audience, especially people that are believing to become mothers. We have so many categories of people in our group, but we cherish women that are currently going through difficulties, having their own babies. So thank you and welcome to today's clinic. Today's clinic, we are going to look at the possibility of achieving pregnancy when you meet your partner during your bleeding. Is it possible to become pregnant when you make love during your bleeding? I know some people can start freaking out and start interjecting a couple of cultural practices, religious practices, all those stuff your mother told you. Guess what? It's called different stroke for different folks. So there are actually some couples that love making love during bleeding. Yes, there are some women that have increased libido during their bleeding for some reasons. So long as both parties are okay with it, completely okay. It's still going to be the same environment. The only difference is that you're going to have blood. Now, if you are completely free of infection, it's still going to be the same environment. That blood out there is the blood coming from your body. When the penis makes contact with the vagina, it's still the same thing. The only difference is that you're bleeding. So if that's your own unique body makeup, if that's your own way you enjoy your relationship, that's completely okay by me. I don't have problems with that. The only area I have problems in, it's when you're not making love enough, when you don't know the rudiments of lovemaking. Lovemaking is not just putting the penis inside the vagina. That's the simplest and the least part of the lovemaking. Lovemaking is a build-up. There are so many things you have to indulge in. I shared a complaint from one of my clients who was complaining that the wife or the girlfriend or the fiancé or whoever doesn't allow him to touch, wants him to touch her in the vagina before they make love. And that's part of lovemaking. Foreplay is part of lovemaking. So if you're not indulging in foreplay, you're practically punishing the lady. So this one goes to the men. You see, lovemaking is something we have to know the rudiments and involve in it conscientiously, and we care. When you give yourself to somebody, you're doing that from a place of love. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about the possibility of achieving pregnancy when you make love with your partner. Now, if you're not in our group yet, please follow the admin. Admin is currently in attendance. What you need to do is to click on that link. So you can either be on the page or you can be in the group. It's called Snowspirations Health Hub. That's the group. Now the page is called Snowspirations Global Health Page. Very simple. You can't miss this. Now, if you're in YouTube, we are also in YouTube. So if you love going to YouTube, tune to YouTube. Like if you're currently in YouTube, you can click any of the link and you can see me live. If you're in my timeline, you can also see me live. So I'm actually live on 4 different platforms. My timeline, YouTube, our page and our group. You can't miss this. Now we are gradually getting to 20,000 mark in our group. These are 20,000 happy, loving, caring people. Our community is a family unit. So when you have a problem and you come to our community, you're going to get help. Now, if you desire to get help and it's a privately involved help, like you want to talk about your medical problems, especially if you're looking for a baby, I can help you. When you subscribe, we can talk about it. I can see what I can do. If I need to refer you, I can refer you. I have specific places. If you follow the admin, there are specific places I can refer you to in Nigeria. What I believe in, I believe that no woman is born to be alone. I believe that all married people are entitled to have their babies. So you might be having challenges today. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. But you need to step up your game, my sister, especially if you're above 35. Age is a very big factor when it comes to having a baby. I understand some women might be married late. That's okay. I would rather you marry late and marry right than to marry early and be a slave and be abused and don't have a life. So whenever you marry, whenever you start looking for a baby, please activate all the important options. So a lady that got married at 45 doesn't have the same chance with a lady that got married at 35. You don't have the same chance with a lady that got married at 25. When you marry early, you have an advantage. When you marry late, you have less advantage, but you also have an added advantage of having multiple pregnancy. So you might be 45 and you can have quadruplets. You can have triplets. You can have twins. Way, way more better compared to a lady that is younger. So everybody has an advantage. So wherever you find yourself, just do the right thing. The motto of our group is PPP. We pray a lot. I'm a prayerful guy. I believe in God. I believe that God is good all the time. In the good times and in the bad times, I keep praying to God. Now, when we've said our prayers, we have to make love with our partners. You cannot become pregnant if you don't make love. So love making is a very big aspect of this group. 48-hourly love making for women that want to get pregnant. We don't do ovulation sex. We don't do fertility window sex. What do we do? 48-hourly. So if you're in this gathering and you love your love making during your bleeding, you're also good. So that means love making as far as you want. Now, when you've made love, when you've prayed, the third thing is one, practice. Practice is when you begin to look at your options. So are you going to go for adoption? Are you going to go for surrogacy? Are you going to go for IUI? Are you going to go for donor egg, donor sperm, IVF? That's the practice. And pretty much doing everything I've been preaching every single day. If you can do this, you can become a mother. It's just a matter of time. But this afternoon, let's quickly talk about the possibility of becoming pregnant when you make love during your bleeding. Is it possible? The answer is yes. It's very, very possible to become pregnant when you make love during your bleeding. It's rare, but it's possible. So for some, most younger women in this regard are women below 35, because when you get to 35, you're classified as advanced. Advanced means it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it doesn't mean you can't get pregnant. Even at 50, you can still get pregnant naturally, but the chances are reduced. So for younger women below 35, with regular predictive cycle, it's important you track your cycle just for knowing sake. So tracking your cycle is very important. It will help you to know the tentative period you can have more chances of becoming pregnant. So if you have regular predictive cycle, and the commoner cycle out there is 28 days. If it's regular, that means it's, you can predict it every 28 days you're going to bleed, then we can plot your ovulation. How do we do this? Very, very simple. So if you have a 28-day cycle, plotting your ovulation is as simple as ABCD. What do? You divide 28 by 2. What do you have? 14. So on day 14 is the likely day you will ovulate. Very, very, very important. Now, some women can have 30-day cycle. If 30-day cycle is your cycle, you apply 14. That means you minus 14 from 30, you get 16. So instead of day 14, you ovulate on day 16. Now, this is for younger women. For any other woman out there, especially if you're having infertility, it doesn't matter if you calculated it right. It doesn't matter if you have increase in your cervical mucus. It doesn't matter. What matters, you're making love regardless. Whether your partner has low sperm count, it doesn't matter. Whether your partner has azoospermia, it doesn't matter. Whether you have any pathology in the world, it doesn't matter. Whatever you have, keep on making love. There are so many women that were shopping for IVF money. There are so many women that were getting ready to go for adoption. There are so many women that were contending to go for surrogacy, and suddenly they became pregnant. That's going to be someone's portion. But you cannot become pregnant if you're not making love. You cannot become pregnant if you're not praying to God. You cannot become pregnant if you're not seeking help. Everybody needs help. If you want to be a mother, if you want to be a father, sooner than later, you have to practice PPP. You can't escape it. So how does conception happen? So the ability to conceive is actually a miracle, because it requires the meeting of the egg and the sperm. Once in a month, when a woman releases her egg from the ovary, so you have right ovary and the left ovary. You release an egg either from the right or the left ovary. That egg that got released will go to a special place in the tube. When it gets to that place, it will wait for the sperm. The sperm will come through the vagina, go through the cervix, enter the womb, then begin to enter the tube through that opening in the womb. When it gets to that special place called the ampulla, by then the egg is already waiting. Now, unfortunately, the egg can only live for 12 to 24 hours. 12 to 24 hours. So it's very important you have sperm ready to fertilize the egg. Why? Thankfully, the sperm can spend up to 5 days inside the vagina. So your partner can make love to you on Monday. If you ovulate on Thursday, he's going to get you pregnant. So this is the blessing. God is just amazing. I don't know how God planned all this. So when you release your egg is valid for 12 to 48 hours. Some can extend to 48 hours. But the average is 12 to 24 hours, actually. Some can extend to 48 hours. So once your egg is released, there is an urgent need to get that egg fertilized. So if we don't have sperm ready to get fertilized, to fertilize that egg, then you will lose your chance. Now, when you lose your chance of becoming pregnant in a particular month and everything is okay, what's going to happen? The cover of your womb, which is called the endometrium, which was getting ready to receive the baby. Remember that fertilization will happen in the ampulla. Then it will come back from the tube and go to the womb to implant. So if there is no fertilization, if there is no pregnancy, what will happen to the endometrium? It will break down. The breakdown of the endometrium is what happens when you now have your bleeding. So your bleeding, it's more like mourning that pregnancy didn't happen. The cover of the womb will break down, then you will pass it out as blood. That's what leads to your menstrual bleeding. Now listen to me carefully. Not all women that menstruate ovulate. So some women can be getting the cover of the womb ready, getting ready to receive the baby, but the egg is not coming. And also some women will not bleed, but they are ovulating. So the key word is what? Ovulating. So whether you're bleeding or not, so long as you're ovulating, we're okay with that. So once the egg is released, we want that egg to be fertilized. And a typical cycle for a woman is 28 days, but the normal range is 21 to 35 days. Day one is when you start bleeding. So if you want to check your cycle, you start counting from the very first day you bleed. Like I mentioned, ovulation is a very straightforward thing. Now, how can a woman get pregnant for her period? Now, you need to be careful. Not all bleeding from the vagina means you are in your period. Some women can have bleeding during their ovulation. Some women can bleed as the only evidence that they're ovulating. So you need to be conversant with your body. So it's easy to mistake vaginal bleeding as the beginning of your period. But that vaginal bleeding might actually be an indication that you've ovulated. So if that bleeding you're suspecting to be bleeding from your menses, if it's ovulating bleeding, you're going to get pregnant. Because ovulation can present with so many signs. Some people can have mid-cycle pain. Some people can have bloating. Some people can have increase in libido. Some people can have increase in the cervical egg white mucus. They are all non-specific signs that you're ovulating. So be very mindful. Pay attention to your body. So possibly You could bleed during your ovulation, and during your ovulation is your most fertile period. Why? Because during your ovulation, the egg is still there within the 12 to 24 hours to be fertilized. So the best time for a woman to become pregnant is about that time you're ovulating. So you can easily miss this if you are only focusing on the bleeding. So having unprotected sex about this time you're bleeding dramatically can get you pregnant. Now, on the average, the ovulation cycle will fall between 28 to 30 days. That means the possibility of becoming pregnant when you're bleeding is limited, but it's not completely off the hook. Some women might have short cycle. Women that might have short cycle, shortly after the bleeding, the egg can be released. So the possibility of releasing egg during your bleeding, it's almost zero. But remember that the sperm can survive up to 5 days. So if a woman is bleeding on the average for 2 days, and the partner makes love to her on the second day and deposits the sperm, if that woman has a short cycle, she can release her egg almost immediately after bleeding. Remembering that the sperm can fertilize the egg for 5 days. So everything is all dependent on individual lady out there. So if you have a short cycle, the possibility of you getting pregnant when you make love during your bleeding is very high. But if you have a regular or long cycle, it's almost impossible. But there is no impossible, there is no never, there is no always in medical practice. There are always new things that will happen. But the women that can become pregnant when they make love during their bleeding are women that have what? Short cycle. And the reason is because the sperm is the game changer. Now, some women can make love towards the end of their bleeding. Some women can spot. Remember, when you're calculating your bleeding, spotting is not part of it. So some women can spot for 2 days before they bleed, or some women can bleed and they spot for 2 days. The only actual bleeding are that particular full bleeding. You don't count the spotting. So your partner might be horny, your partner might just want to go in and make love to you, and you might think you've ended your bleeding, but what you're having there is spotting. If you have a short cycle, you can become pregnant. So towards the end of your period, your fertility and the ability to become pregnant increases. But towards the beginning, it's reduced. But towards the ending, your ability to become pregnant when you make love during your bleeding will do what? Will increase if you have a short cycle. Now, if you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, pay attention to your body. The first thing you can do as a lady is to know your cycle. How do you know your cycle? We are now in a new month. Today is the 5th. Now, if you can remember when you bled in April, the first day, go and mark it in a visible calendar. Use red pen to mark it in a calendar. Now target this month. Let's use the example of 15. Let's assume you bled on the 15th of April and that bleeding lasted for 5 days, which is normal. The normal bleeding is 2 to 7 days. Now go and mark 15th of April in a big calendar, right? Now, if you bleed again on the 10th of May, go and mark May. Count the number of days between the 15th of April to the 10th of May. That's going to be your cycle. Now, if you bled for 5 days, that's your duration of bleeding. Now, what you need to do again is to now use the 10th of May as the starting point so that by June, when you bleed again, you count the difference between the 10th of May and when you bled in June. If you can get the pattern, you can comfortably predict your cycle. This will work mainly for women younger than 35. And if you can get this, you can actually become pregnant by doing all those calculations, which we don't encourage in this group. So the big answer to the question about becoming pregnant when you make love during your bleeding is what? Yes, there are possibly some women in this gathering now that became pregnant about that period. So you became pregnant not because you released an egg during your bleeding. You became pregnant because you have a shorter cycle, and shortly after your bleeding, you released your egg, and when you made love, the sperm was still active in the vagina. That's what happened. Now, some people will be asking, what are the chances of getting pregnant when you actually make love during this bleeding? The likelihood of getting pregnant can rise or fall throughout your ovulation cycle. Like I mentioned, the possibility of getting pregnant when you make love during your bleeding is limited at the beginning of the bleeding, but increase towards the end of the bleeding. So on the average, for a woman that has a 28-day cycle, everything can easily be calculated. But when you don't have a 28-day cycle, it's not going to be neither here or there. It's going to be all over the place. So the key is to study your body. When you study your body, you will know the likelihood to get pregnant and when you have the best chance. But what we normally teach in our group is to what? Just make love. Especially if you're looking for a baby. Please, 48 hourly. And if you have to make love 48 hourly, you have to know how to make love, because if you don't know how to make love, it's going to be painful. You're going to be so tired. You're not going to love it. It will look like an assignment. But if you know how to make love, if you bring the fun to the love making, so many people don't even know when they became pregnant. Believe me. Couples that make love regularly won't even know when they're conceive, because you're just having fun and you become pregnant. But when you're constantly thinking about, oh, am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? You're introducing stress in your body, and women and stress can't mingle. Stress is the biggest enemy to women, especially women that want to have babies. Stress can mess you up. Stress can kill your libido. Stress can make you to add body weight. Stress can cause hormone imbalance. Stress can cause a lot of things that might not directly relate to your ability to become pregnant, but indirectly affect you. So you do not need stress. Thankfully, when you're making love, lovemaking contains anti-stress. Lovemaking contains endorphins, relaxing hormones, things that will make you happy. But unfortunately, life is all about choices. When you stay only on the track of having a baby, it can kill your joy. But when you go easy and do your best, you will have a chance of becoming pregnant against all odds. So what's my takeaway? If you are trying to get pregnant, having sex on your period won't likely help you to conceive unless your cycle is less than 28 days. So the women that will likely conceive if they make love during their bleeding are the women that have what? Short cycle. So if your cycle is from 25 down to 21, remember that the normal cycle is 21 to 35. So if you have 25 to 21, those are the women that will likely get pregnant when they make love during their bleeding, because shortly after your bleeding, you can release an egg. If you are not trying to become pregnant, remember, it's not everybody that wants to become pregnant, right? If you are not trying to become pregnant, it's important to have protected sex every time. This includes some form of contraception like condoms and birth control. Of all the contraceptives out there, the only one that can protect you from sexually transmitted infection is what? Condom. If it's worn properly. Every other one out there can stop you from becoming pregnant, but they can't stop you from picking sexually transmitted infection. So if you're trying to become pregnant and you haven't conceived for a year or more than of having unprotected sex, please contact your fertility doctor. When you contact your fertility doctor early, we're going to examine you, we're going to consult you, we're going to look at your case individually. Please stop making the mistakes of comparing yourself with your friends. You can't be your friends. Your friends are your friends. What will work for them will not work for you. Unfortunately, some women compare, oh, my friends did this. Why not me? Why this? Why that? I don't know. You can't be them. They can't be you. So don't make the mistake of comparing yourself with your friends. Or maybe you guys got married the same time and you're looking for babies and they don't have. Maybe they have two. Do you know they can have two and you can have four at a sitting? That's called individual difference. So stay in your lane, but do your own part and let God be God. When you see a fertility specialist, we're going to provide a lot of testing. Then we're going to base your treatment based on the outcome of the testing. It's important to have a fertility specialist. Now, listen to me carefully. If you're attending this gathering today and you're above 35, you don't have time. You can afford to play with time. If you're in your 20s, I can forgive you. I can give you extra 10 years. But if you're above 35, you do not have time. You are in your evening. A woman is like the weather, morning, afternoon, evening. If you're in your 35, you have already entered evening. You're like a flower. In the morning, you're so beautiful. In the afternoon, you're blossoming. Towards evening, what happens? You begin to wither. This will happen to all women. You do not want to be caught in this direction. So if you're having difficulty already, you can get help. It's not the end of the world. Thankfully, this month, we haven't had this roundtable before. Since I started my activities in maternal health, this is the first time we will have an all-female panel. Selected, amazing, smart, intelligent women, my two providers, who will talk on the roundtable, coming up later this month. You do not want to miss the multiple pregnancy roundtable. We are going to make it so open, so many women are going to get pregnant. Look, I'm telling you this because I know there are so many twin mothers. There are so many triplet mothers. There are so many quadruplet mothers watching me today. You will look like magic. You will become. But how can you become? By showing up. If you show up, if you're there, you will become. So many people are going to step up to go for IUI. So many people are going to step up to go for IVF. You can become a mother through IUI. You can become a mother through surrogacy. You can become a mother through IVF. Nothing should stop you. By any good means possible, become a parent. Don't allow anybody deceive you. Okay, so guys, in the next 20 minutes or thereabout, I'm going to take care of your questions. So the clinic is going to open now, and you will have opportunity to ask your questions. Please save your resources for this month's roundtable, the masterclass. It's going to be a roundtable. So I'm going to have two amazing female doctors from Nigerian origin. One is America here, one is in Nigeria. Amazing. They know their stuff. Very intelligent people. We're going to come and we're going to have a roundtable to talk about this multiple pregnancy of a thing, how we can help you to achieve that. You can have multiple pregnancy through natural means, or you can have multiple pregnancy through assisted reproductive technique. Now, majority of women can become multiple mothers through assisted reproductive technique. So majority of the twins you're seeing in our world today is a product of assisted reproductive technique, is a product of IVF. So you might be 45 this year, and you can be a twin mother at 46 next year. It has happened before. A 47-year-old lady became a twin mother at 48 this year. She went for IVF the first time. So I'm daring you. Let me ask you a simple question. Let's be truthful. If the only thing standing in your way of having 4 babies, of having 3 babies, of having 2 babies is 2 million naira, are you not gonna go break the bank to get it? If the reason why you don't have your family today, if the reason why you haven't had a baby since 20 years, 15 years, 10 years is 2 million naira, is 2 million naira bigger than starting your family? No. So if you have the resources, deploy it. If you have people that will help you, go to them. If you have to fling certain things in your home, do that. If you're gonna move from a house to a flat, then you have your kids, do that. Stop acquiring all this nonsense. I call it nonsense. Believe me, money doesn't sleep. Use your money wisely. Some of you are spending a lot of time talking about praying a prayer that God has answered already. I'm challenging you today to rewrite the story of your family. I'm talking to you directly. You might not know me, but I'm so convinced you're going to be a multiple pregnant mother. In this dispensation, it will happen, and you will look back and you remember that Dr. Trudy said it. So the clinic is going to open now, and I'm going to take care of your questions. Okay, so the first person's asked, please explain negative pap test. Now, thankfully, it's negative. So negative pap smear test means the suspicion we are looking out for in the cervix. So when you go for your pap smear, we collect sample from the cervix to see if there are changes that might indicate early signs of cervical cancer issues. So thankfully, your pap smear is negative. So that means it's a good thing. We are not worried. So the superficial and intermediate cells, you didn't complete it. So we don't have any reason to worry about you having cancer of the cervix. So you should go home and throw a party. Okay, now some women that need to go for their pap smear, touch base with your doctor, make sure you're due. Well, woman check is recommended for all women. You don't have to get sick before you start looking for a doctor. Bring out one day in the 365 days to go and see your doctor in health, so we can have an overview of you. If you haven't done this year, please do it. This is May. The same thing is applicable to the men, but more importantly for women. Okay, let's continue, guys. Keep asking your questions, please. You're trying to conceive for almost a year. 2 months ago, you had diagnosis of ovarian cyst. They gave you contraceptives to take for 3 months. Can you get pregnant during the medication? So here's the deal. I'm sure you'll be wondering why they will be giving you contraceptives when you're planning to become pregnant. Now, sometimes we use contraceptives to regularize your cycle. So if your cycle is all over the place, if we can't predict your cycle, we can give you oral contraceptive pills to regularize your cycle. So whenever we give you that, please take it religiously. Most times when we give you oral contraceptive pills, when you're done doing that, then we begin our treatment proper. So the reason for giving you oral contraceptive pills is to stabilize your cycle. So take it religiously. Now, what you need to do, my sister, hopefully you're under the care of a fertility specialist, right? A fertility specialist is the right doctor to take care of you. Please don't waste your resources going to a general practitioner. Don't waste your resources going to just a general gynecologist. Be very polite to ask them to refer you. Some of them, if they are truthful, they will genuinely tell you, oh, I'm a general practitioner, I'm a family physician, I'm going to refer you to where you're going to get help. You need to go to somewhere that the only thing they know is fertility treatment. There are special doctors that the only thing they learn in medical school throughout their life is helping people with fertility problems. That's who you need. Now, if you are 35 years and below, before you begin to worry about this, try and do your own part for 1 year. If you're 35 years and above, because when you get to 35, you are classified as advanced, please, 6 months. Make sure you're making love every other day. So every other day is the 48-hour love making pattern in this group. Is the biggest weapon in this group. 2020, when so many people were on lockdown, some of their partners ran away, right? But because of the lockdown, everybody was together. So many couples that couldn't become pregnant became pregnant. Why? Because they were making love. So love making is the key. Don't be married in January and by March, you're running all over the place taking Clomid. You don't need the Clomid. Settle down and make love and love your love making. Let me tell you, time will come when you won't even remember to make love. When babies and stress and challenges in life come, your libido is going to go down. Believe me. So the best time to make all the love and have love-making habit is now. There are some couples that will be together in the home. They are not quarreling. They love each other, but they haven't made love for 2 years. It's not right. It's not good. When you make love, you're coming together. So be careful. Before you run away and begin to go and worry and spend the money you don't have, do your own part. Let God be God. Okay, let's continue, guys. We have a few more minutes to go. Okay, what's the solution to hydrosarpins? So unfortunately, when you have hydrosarpins, you have a collection of fluid in your tube. When you have collection of fluid in your tube, the lumen, the opening of your tube will narrow down. Unfortunately, it's going to affect the function of your tube. So most women that have hydrosarpins, that particular side of the tube, in some places, if we have very carefully done micro-invasive corrective surgery, we can do that. But unfortunately, if you have hydrosarpins of the left tube, practically that left tube is gone. If the right tube is open, you can still use it. Okay? Now you have hydrosarpins on the left tube, then tubal blockage on the right. So my sister, Opeyemi Chigozie, do you know the best truth I can tell you today? Go and save for money and go for IVF. Your tubes are already compromised. Look, I wouldn't want to see any woman in my group 10 years into joining me in this group, and you're telling me about your tube. I wouldn't want to do that to you. It's going to be very painful. It will actually break my heart. Now, my sister, if you're in this gathering and they told you your 2 tubes are damaged, so in your case, my sister, unfortunately, your 2 tubes are damaged. The right one is blocked, and you have hydrosarpins in the left. Both of them are damaged. Please don't waste your money going to any babalawo that will promise you they will flush it. There is nothing they will flush. What you need to do, still be making love, still be doing your part, but please go and start shopping for IVF. IVF is your reliable means of becoming pregnant. I know so many people invoke Christianity and invoke praying, and they begin to waste time. My sister, you can't be praying for 12 years for God to give you babies. For 20 years. No. God is telling you to adopt. God is telling you to go for IVF. God is telling you to go for IUI. You can't be, this is not the kind of God we have. He's a loving God. Look, I'm telling you my frank truth. Unfortunately, some of us, we don't know, but we don't even know that we don't know. We want to figure a lot of things out. You can't figure infertility out for 20 years. It's heartbreaking. Defeat infertility by adopting. Go and adopt a baby. Adopted babies open doors. Look, let me tell you the truth. See, forget about all these hype in social media. There are some of your friends, you don't even know where they went to have their babies because they haven't told you. The same people are discouraging you from doing what you need to do. But you're not doing it because you want to meet up with the Joneses. Your village people are telling you, oh, don't do this, don't do that, this is that. Meanwhile, you don't know the reason why you're not going for IVF. You don't even know what IVF is all about. Meanwhile, you don't have sperm. You're a man. You're still pompous. You're still bragging all about, but you have azoospermia. My brother, let me ask you the simple question. When you don't have sperm, what do? You go for donor sperm. But this is where you need to be very secretive. The only 3 people that should know about your infertility, the details of what you have, and the details of what you're gonna do, you, your husband, and your fertility doctor. Go and practice this. Some of you are having the problems you're having now because of your mother. Because your mother is flippant, because your mother is broadcasting your secret, because your mother is putting a lot of pressure on you, because your mother is already blaming your husband. Any couple can have infertility. It doesn't matter if it's the man. It doesn't matter if it's the woman. It doesn't matter. Marriage is a problem that 2 people that love each other should be in it for better, for worse, not only for better. So keep your mouth shut. Some of us talk too much. You use your timeline to tell the whole world about your problems. You don't need to tell them about your problems. If you have to leave Facebook and come back with your babies, do it. Nobody is gonna come to query you if it's donor sperm surrogacy, adoption, IUI, IVF. Nobody will query you. They are your babies. So go and take your bold step today. You will remember I said this because 10 years goes like the speed of light. You don't want to look back 20 years from now and you begin to regret what you could have done before. No, do it today. Do it for you. Stop pleasing people. Be a grown-up. Some of you are married, but you're not married. You're still tied to your mother's apron strings. Any slightest thing, you pick your phone, you report your spouse. Some of the husbands are still babies. They are still their mother's babies. You are a grown-up now. You don't blame each other. You stand in that storm and you keep going. A good friend of mine called me yesterday at work. It was an unusual call. 20 years of marrying the wife. No babies. But Messi said no. They stuck together. He called me yesterday. They're having twins. A boy and a girl. Look, my people, there is joy in sticking together. You're gonna get there. I got there. I had my challenges. We had our challenges. You've seen my daughter. You've seen my son. They are product of mercy. God knows. But when you stick to the society, the same society that is telling you not to do will be the same society that will crucify you. Go and mark my words. So be matured enough to take your bold steps. Okay, guys. Okay, after hysteroscopy, adiolysis, can one still take it naturally? Yes. If you remove that barrier, the adhesions, the scar tissues from your body, thankfully, if that's the only problem you have, yes, you can become pregnant. You have uterine fibroid. Can you conceive again? Why not? But the only thing you need to do, we need to know the type. If it's intramural or submucosal, that means it's inside your womb. If it's bigger than 5 cm, we need to remove it. No woman should harbor her fibroid that is very big, occupying the space where your baby should be developing, and you want to get pregnant. That's not a good decision. Deal with your fibroid before you want to become pregnant. Okay? Let's continue, guys. Let's see what we have. If your questions are not answered, I apologize. I wish I have all the time, but I don't have all the time in the world. Is there any treatment for high FSH? And can someone whose FSH is high conceive naturally? FSH going high is an evidence that you're getting old. Every woman's FSH is going to go high as you're tending towards menopause. So if your FSH is very high, we need to investigate a couple of things. So we need to rule out that you haven't gone into menopause or you haven't gone into premature ovarian failure. Naturally, when a woman is in her reproductive phase, your FSH should be within the normal range so that your estrogen will be up and help you to become pregnant and a couple of other hormones. Now, when you're getting old, your estrogen will start coming down and your FSH will start going up and your AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone. These are the indicative hormones that will tell us you have good ovarian reserve. So my sister, I know you want to have a baby. You can still be trying naturally, but if I were you, with FSH very high, please go and see a fertility specialist. If we offer you IVF, please take it and run. Okay? Can pre-seed lubricant help one with low sperm count? There is no connection between pre-seed lubricant and your low sperm count. The only thing that pre-seed lubricant will do for you is to protect the sperm. So pre-seed lubricant is fertility-friendly lubricant. It's sperm-friendly. Some lubricants are not sperm-friendly. Some lubricants are spermicidal. That means they kill the sperm. But it doesn't have anything to do with your low sperm count. Okay? Your son will be 2 next month, and you've been trying to take in again, but it's not working. You're confused. This is not the time for confusion. Get a subscription. Let's deal with this. Let's see what we can do for you. This is not the time for complaining. This is not the time for crying. This is the time for action. You can get help. Every singular baby deserves their sibling. Guys, I have 4 more minutes. So let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. Can a woman with adenomyosis get pregnant? You can, but you need help. You need to see a fertility specialist. Probably you need to go for some surgeries. Is it okay if you confirm your IVF? Your question is not clear. Please make sure your questions are clear so I can give you a straightforward answer. Does ovulation bleeding last like menstrual bleeding? No. Ovulation bleeding is more like spotting. About just tiny bleeding within 48 hours, you start. Okay? Can someone see her period for 8 years and is it normal? How do you mean seeing your period for 8 years? It doesn't make sense. You can't bleed for 8 years. The normal period you can bleed is 7 days. Once your bleeding passes 7 days, it's dysfunctional. So you can't bleed for the number of period you're talking about. You have a problem. You need to see a gynecologist. Okay? All right. After 10 years of having a child, now you want to have another. Your HSG, after HSG, hope there is very positive. My people, look, hope is a very renewable commodity. When you're hoping, do the right things. 10 years is a long time. The question is, what are you going to do? Or what have you been doing? Let me tell you the frank truth. If you continue to do what you've been doing for these past 10 years that you didn't have a baby, you're not going to have a baby. But if you do something different, you're going to have a baby. So if you've been sitting at home taking Clomid, doing all the practicals that your friends are telling you, making yourself a guinea pig, going for all the experimentation, traveling all over the world to places that will do cryptic magic for you, you're not going to get pregnant. But if you step up and see a fertility specialist with your provider, with your partner, you can get pregnant. So you need to change your ways. If you change your ways, you're going to become pregnant. Okay, guys, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. The broadcast is ending in next 2 minutes. Please don't share your medical reports openly. It's completely unethical. If you have hormone imbalance, what are your chances of getting positive pregnancy test in IVF? We have to correct all identified hormone imbalance, because when your hormones are not within the normal range, you cannot get pregnant. Now, if you're going for IVF, if we notice that your progesterone level is not within the normal range, we top it up, we support it. So we need to correct all identified hormone imbalances for you to have a good chance. Can you have a private chat with me? Why not? But you need to subscribe. So follow the admin. Admin is going to set you up. And yes, you can talk to me, but only 2 platforms. Only the Prime and Classic. If your subscription is not Prime and Classic, you won't have a talk time with me. But if you're in Prime and Classic, you can talk to me. All right. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take care of this last question, then we're going to go for today, okay? Make sure you keep a day with Dr. Ndiche tomorrow. You don't want to miss her clinic. Amazing provider, amazing broadcast. So you want to be there tomorrow to follow up to what she has to tell us. You see your period for 6 days and you spot for 5 days, trying for a baby at 46, you need to step up. My sister, at 46, you're getting ready to hit your menopause. If you're still bleeding, that's a very good thing. So what you need to do, if you're believing God for a baby at 46, you should actually be doing IVF as we talk with donor eggs. You don't have to waste time. Okay, you feel stabbed on your uterus after your monthly period, you feel serious pain like a bite. What should you do? You see a gynecologist. Anytime you don't understand anything about your body, the best person to see is who? A gynecologist. Is HSG a good first? What do you mean? HSG is hysterosalpingogram. It's a special test we use in checking the state of your tubes. So it's a basic test that all women looking for babies must go for. Thank you for coming. I love you guys. Please continue making love. Please continue practicing. Please continue praying. Prayer works magic. But when you have prayed, get up and make love with your partner, see a fertility specialist, and please make sure you make provisions for the upcoming roundtable, upcoming multiple pregnancy masterclass. You don't want to miss this. By tomorrow, we're going to release the details. Thank you for coming today. I love you guys. Remember, if you're not in YouTube, make sure you go to our YouTube, subscribe. If you're not in our page, if you're not in our group, if you're not in my timeline, if you want to be in my timeline, you send me a friend request and you can be there. We are also on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming. I love you guys. God bless you. And bye-bye for now.